Now, with respect to what's happening with gas prices right now, this is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain of taking out the rogue Iranian terrorist regime.
There's going to be some short-term pain for American consumers until the Iranians are defanged, which we hope is within just a few weeks.
There's going to be some short-term pain, but I can assure you it's going to be for the benefit of the long-term gain.
This price increase is going to be temporary, and it is a small price to pay for the idea that we're going to get rid of a terrorist regime.
Well, it certainly appears as though Trump's lapdogs have received their talking points now that the economy is feeling the pain over this war against Iran, which has destroyed oil infrastructure and is going to lead to increased prices at the pump, which of course trickles down to increased prices everywhere else. So enjoy your inflation, everybody. Now, Cenk, before I continue, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so Israel's now panicking because they're worried they're going to lose the war. So the markets have fluctuated. But initially, when we saw the oil facilities being bombed, oil went through the roof. And that was going to cause significant damage to the issue of affordability here in America, and hence political damage to Trump and his party. So, and then the stock market went down. So this is not a concern about the Iranian people and what the cancer they'll get from that oil or all the damage we've done to the innocent civilians of Iran. This is all about, oh my God, it might have consequences for us. Can you believe that things go badly in a war? Yes. That's why we told you not to go into it. Give them the details.
So before I continue with the details and the data, I just want to remind you all that oil was about $70 roughly a barrel before the war began. Now it's over $100 a barrel. And I just really want to emphasize how incompetent our leaders are, because anyone, including us, by the way, could have predicted, and we did predict what would happen economically speaking if this war happened. Now that the war is happening, everything we predicted is playing out. But we'll never get credit for it, right? We'll still be put on the same, playing field as absolute clowns, like a fitness guru, like Jillian Michaels, who's still running her mouth about geopolitics, even though she has no idea what she's talking about. But nonetheless, I continue. Yesterday, President Donald Trump, gave his lapdogs their talking points, as I mentioned earlier. So he posted on social media short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of the Iran nuclear threat is over, is a very small price to pay for USA and world safety and peace. Only fools would think differently, President Donald J. Trump. Well, you are a fool, okay? Getting dragged into this war, which is quickly turning into a quagmire, was disastrous. And it looks like now Trump is possibly looking for an off-ramp. Now, meanwhile, prices have spiked since the Iran war began. So US crude futures shot up 36% last week, their biggest surge since the market began in 1983. After Trump's call on Friday for Iran's unconditional surrender, prices rose more than they have on a single day since rebounding from the pandemic crash in 2020. They rose another 20% after markets opened on Sunday evening. And this morning, the American people woke up to oil prices of over $100 per barrel. Prices are rising because Iran had been threatening to attack any ship that travels through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the update to that is Iran is now signaling that they will allow all ships belonging to Europe or Arab states to go through the Strait of Hormuz without any problem. The only exception is US ships and Israeli ships, which you can understand given the fact that they were attacked by the United States and Israel. Now, about 20% of the world's oil and gas passes through the Strait of Hormuz, which is why that strait is incredibly important. And Israel has been bombing Iran's oil infrastructure, which of course is leading to an uptick in the price of oil per barrel. Since Iran has threatened to attack any ship that enters the Strait of Hormuz, the strait, Kuwait, Iraq, and the UAE had basically slowed oil production or stopped entirely. Hopefully they begin oil production now that they're getting promises and commitments from Iran that they will allow them to pass without being attacked. Now, the US has promised to ensure the safety of any ships traveling through the strait, which I think is an interesting claim to make, considering the fact that the US has been unable to defend our allies in the Gulf region. But other countries have yet to take him up on that offer, probably because they don't trust him. Trump is pretty unhappy about that, by the way. Take a look.
So I asked him, how do you get the prices down? I know how much you care about oil and gas. And he says, tell these tankers to get to it. We've wiped out most of their launchers. Here's exactly what he said. These ships should go through the Strait of Hormuz and show some guts. There's nothing to be afraid of. They have no navy. We sunk all their ships. He went on to say, he said, look, yeah, there's risk in the region. The region's volatile. There are launchers. There's just about 150 left. That's just about 20% of totals. They can't regenerate. They can't make any more. And we are in the region ready to act quickly on all these type of attacks. Now, I think they're going to get some additional naval assets in there to do some escorting. But there was a tanker that came through yesterday.
Successfully.
Successfully. No problem.
Well, look, a few ships have passed through the Strait of Hormuz since the beginning of the war, but it's too risky, which is why, the transport of oil through the strait has basically stopped, right? You'll get a few ships here and there, but not enough anywhere near what we used to get. Cenk, that's a panicky tone from Trump.
Yeah, show some courage. Just go through, even though you might die. No. The companies that are involved here are not part of the war. So they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, we'll risk not just their employees that are on the ship, the human beings that are on the ship, but all of the supplies that are on the ship. That's a ton of money. And you want us to risk that so that we could help your war effort to look better? No, we're a company. Our only job is to maximize profit. So go pound sand, right? You know the hardest part of starting TYT? It wasn't being on camera. I'm pretty sexy, so that was easy. And it wasn't trying to figure out a new thing called YouTube, that was fun. It was realizing I had to wear every single hat. Writer, producer, marketing department, it was overwhelming. I felt like I was stranded on an island. When you're starting a business, that to-do list can overrun your life. You need a partner, not just any partner, you need Shopify. That's who we chose. Think about it, you need a beautiful online store? Boom, Shopify's got hundreds of ready-to-use templates that match your brand style. You need to find customers? They make it easy to run email and social media campaigns wherever people are scrolling. And what about managing inventory, processing returns, and international shipping? Shopify is your commerce expert. They handle the world-class logistics so you don't have to. Everything from payments to analytics is in one place. No more jumping between platforms. It simplifies your life so you can focus on what you actually started the business to do. Start your business today with the industry's best business partner, Shopify, and start hearing. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT. By the way, if I was them, I'd tell Trump, oh yeah, we'd love to go through the Strait of Hormuz. You first though. So you come on one of our ships and escort it through the Strait of Hormuz and we'll believe you that it's safe. Put Hegseth on one ship, Rubio on another, and Trump and Vance on the third and fourth ones, and we'll definitely go through the Strait of Hormuz. We'll believe you that it's perfectly safe. Oh, you don't want to do that. You want us to risk our lives. Yeah, no, I don't think so, right? And guys, so yeah, now we're backpedaling because we're losing and we're running out of defensive missiles. But what if Iran doesn't stop? And Iran goes, no, America, you're free to leave. We'll see you guys later. But no, I'm blocking the Strait of Hormuz. I got every right to do that. You launched a war against me. This is one of the places where I have leverage. And the longer the American economy is hurt, the bigger the advantage for Iran, right? So they're not gonna do us any favors. We just started killing them. We killed all of their leaders. Like, we have no right to ask for anything.
Guys, and remember, prior to this war beginning, Iran, in their negotiations with the United States, tried to sweeten the pot, sweeten the deal by saying, look, we will open up our oil to the United States. So this will be more than just a peace deal or peace agreement. We will, forge new business agreements with the United States that would benefit the United States economically. The only reason why we have a bad relationship with Iran is because of our alliance with Israel. So just keep that in mind as our people suffer and our soldiers get dragged into a war that doesn't benefit the United States in any way, shape, or form.
By the way, one more thing you guys should know that the press almost never mentions. Israel now has a energy fuel called Leviathan, okay? And before they didn't have any oil, and so we would do great damage to ourselves by attacking all these countries that do have oil on behalf of Israel, right? And that was a problem for us. But now part of the reason they're blowing up the storage facilities that have oil in them is because Israel would like to sell oil and gas to Europe and to other places.
Yep.
And so that made me wonder too, who blew up that pipeline between between Russia and Europe?
Yeah.
Because Leviathan has been in the works for a long time, and that field just opened up, and now they're like, the Israelis are like, don't worry about the Iranians or the Russians, you buy our stuff. Oh, look at that, we happen to bomb their oil.
Oh God, it's just evil country. Anyway, you reminded me of something else. So right now, Russia is helping Iran by providing them with intel. And the US knows it, everyone knows it, it's been admitted. However, at the same time, Trump kind of had no choice but to help Russia because India is hurting, needs oil. And so they're like, please let us buy oil from Russia. Trump's like, sure. So India, our ally, is buying oil from Russia as Russia provides intel to Iran. Trump is a total incompetent buffoon. Come on, guys, come on. You have to keep it real. The truth is the truth, and the truth is real bad for this administration.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.